Now, WJZ's Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
Well, with the win against the Jets, the Ravens' winning streak has extended to 5 games. And with that win and a Steelers loss, the Ravens are now at the top of the AFC North standings. There's a lot to break down from Sunday. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But first, it's a short week for this Ravens team. They play the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. Let's bring in Grace Grill, who's live for us tonight in Owings Mills, where the team just wrapped up a walkthrough. Grace.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm kind of jealous of you guys that you guys are back in studio warm. It's getting a little chilly out here, but like you said, Alex, quick turnaround for the Ravens this week as they prepare for Thursday night against the Bengals. The Ravens did hold a late afternoon walkthrough practice today that was not open to the media, but a handful of players not available and practicing today, of those being Lamar Jackson, who was listed with a toe injury. So that is new from the hamstring, knee, and ankle injuries that he has been dealing with this season. For the past few weeks, Lamar has missed a day of practice, but has been ready to go on Sunday, even though some speculate that he hasn't looked quite right. We asked Zay Flowers earlier if he thinks Lamar has been hindered by these injuries this season.
Oh no, I can't really tell. Like, I can't really speak on it. So I feel like he wouldn't put himself in a bad position if he wasn't healthy. You know what I mean? I don't think he'll jeopardize it.
All right, another player to keep an eye on is Kyle Hamilton, who left yesterday's game. He did not practice today and was listed with an ankle injury, but John Harbaugh did tell us today that he should have a chance to play on Thursday night. In other quarterback news, though, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was a full participant at their practice today, and he is expected to make his return here in Baltimore this week, guys.
Thank you, Grace. A lot to digest there. And now let's bring in Tim Barbalis and Gianna Hahn joining us tonight. Guys, so Grace just kind of hit on this. Lamar Jackson sits out the walkthrough today. I think that's not a surprise to many people. But when you look at the injury report and you see toe injury for Lamar, that is now the 4th lower body injury that he's dealt with this season. Tim, just that's what jumped out to me. Just kind of, what do you make of all this?
It's been really odd, and you don't know if this is just happening from the initial hamstring injury, but it's working down his body now. You go from hamstring, the knee, the ankle, and now it's the toe. But one thing that's abundantly clear is Lamar Jackson is not 100% healthy, and he's not even close to that. And Lamar's saying all of the right things, and John Harbaugh's saying all the right things. We just heard Zay Flowers talk as well, but he's not right, and you're seeing it in his play. He just hasn't been nearly as explosive, and now you're seeing the accuracy wane, where he's gone 3 straight games completing less than 60% of his passes.
Yeah, Gianna, I think one of the big takeaways for me yesterday as well was just that Lamar didn't quite look like Lamar. I mean, you even had some Jets reporters asking Brandon Stevens, a former Ravens player, in the visiting locker room yesterday, if he thought that Lamar looked like the Lamar that he's used to seeing. And Brandon, of course, said that, you know, he looked like Lamar out there. But what did you see, Gianna, yesterday from the 2-time MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Tim. He doesn't necessarily look exactly like himself, despite what everyone's saying. Like, they trust Lamar to play if he is good to go, but good to go versus, like, being his MVP self are very different things. There were just some moments where, you know, the pocket's collapsing, a little hole opens up on the side, and you would expect Lamar to hit that hole. And, you know, we thought he was going to be in the end zone. We were all like, oh my God, look, he's going to, and he got 1 yard and we stopped way short of the end zone. And like old Lamar, truly healthy Lamar would have broke those tackles, would have hit that gap and pushed into the end zone. And we're just not seeing that. And now the accuracy, like you mentioned, but I think it starts with his legs. And when they can contain him, because they know he's not going to be able to run as fast, that limits what you can do in both the run game and in the pass game.
Yeah, Gianna, you actually have an article up on the Baltimore Banner right now talking about the offense, specifically the red zone offense, which has been a topic throughout this season. Struggles continued yesterday, just 2 for 5 in the red area. You talked to guys after the game yesterday. Execution is the word that I was hearing thrown around a lot yesterday from players about the issues. What are you hearing about some of the concerns that people are having with this red zone offense?
Yeah, execution is a word that's just used over and over again. And it's like, yeah, but what does that mean? Right? Like, that's just been the answer that we've gotten over and over and over for the past few weeks as we've asked. And so I think Ronnie Stanley tried to break it down a little bit more. He said he thinks that guys aren't like necessarily hitting the right gaps that they need to, but from the offensive line, they're not sustaining their blocks, they're not blocking all the way through the play. Things improved a little bit yesterday. They actually scored in goal-to-go situations, which they haven't been doing either, even though their red zone percentage was still way too low. But no one seemed confident that the problem was fixed despite the numbers going up. And again, they were playing the Jets defense, which isn't one of the best defenses in the league. And the Bengals aren't going to be either, but maybe these can be get right games. Maybe they're moving in the right direction, but the confidence doesn't seem like it's there because they just keep not executing well. And they did acknowledge like the play calling could be better as well. But players are never going to say it's all in the coaches. Like, they're going to take some of the pressure on them.
Sure, I think it's all of the above, like you're saying, Gianna, but the reality is they're the 30th ranked offense in red zone efficiency. The Raiders are above them, and they just fired their offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly. And we talked a lot about it last week. Lamar, his completion percentage near the bottom. Derrick Henry's been really poor in goal-to-go situations. I think you can say the offensive line and the lack of push there as well, but it's a situation that has to get fixed where they're third worst in the NFL, and they were by far and away the best last year.
Yeah, switching gears to the defense, that's a unit that has been fixed. You know, they addressed that before the trade deadline. Draymond Jones has made an immediate impact on this team. This defense right now held the Jets to 10 points and now has held opponents to less than 20 points in 6 straight games. I mean, we're talking about Draymond Jones getting his first sacks yesterday as a Raven. We're talking about Marlon Humphrey making the plays that he wasn't making back in the beginning of the season and getting that much-needed turnover in a critical moment, and then catching an interception to seal the game. Just, it seems like this defense has completely come back. And, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that this was one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the beginning of the season. Now one of the best, if not the best, in football, Tim?
Yeah, they were the worst defense in football. The first 5 weeks, you gave up over 37 points in 4 of those 5 games. But something that I really loved seeing yesterday was the defense slam the door shut in the fourth quarter, like you were saying, Alex. That forced fumble that Marlon Humphrey had on Breece Hall, where he was having a heck of a drive at that point, making a ton of guys miss, I thought that was massive, and they were able to get some pass rush late in that game and sacking Tyrod Taylor multiple times in that football game. It's a unit that's playing with a ton of confidence right now.
Absolutely. And Gianna, we are – wait, no, we're not going to take a break yet. We're going to talk more about this defense. Gianna, what did you see from the defense yesterday?
Yeah, I don't want to be the downer. I really hope they're back. You know, everything that Tim said rings true, but the problem is they're going against some of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So it's not like they're really beating on fantastic competition. And what worries me is that they've been sacrificing so much to get this pass rush going. They've been rushing their cornerbacks, their safeties, their linebackers. At what point will a better quarterback?
Okay, Gianna froze up on us for a second. Hopefully we can get her back. But I think, Tim, to her point, you know, she's talking about the durability factor. Kyle Hamilton specifically has been thrown in to help with the pass rush, and we saw him go down with an injury as well. I mean, shoot, he went down in the Browns game with an injury, so he's not 100%. He's banged up. So the wear and tear is starting to take its toll as they start to move guys around. It's working, but just how sustainable is this, I think, is the question.
Sure, and you're getting a step up in competition. We know what the Bengals and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase did to them in 2 games last year, and now Joe Burrow's back. Yep. You called it, Alex. He's coming out of that tunnel Thursday night at M&T Bank Stadium. So I think we're going to find out a lot about this defense down the stretch, facing the Bengals twice in 3 weeks, the Patriots, the Packers. They both have solid offenses as well.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to play What's the Word? Plenty more to talk about from yesterday's big win. The Ravens now sitting at the top of the AFC North and completely back in the playoff picture. We'll be right back.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. This is the Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
All right, it's time for What's the Word? I'm going to throw out a topic and a phrase, and you guys fill in the blank with a word or words that best finish out the statement. So, Gianna, let's start with your Penn Stater, your fellow Penn Stater, I should say, Jordan Stout. Having a Pro Bowl year, probably, I mean, he's an All-Pro? Is he the Ravens' only All-Pro right now at this point in the season? But had a massive day yesterday, a 74-yard punt, probably was his second best punt of the day, added another 67-yard punt, pinning the Jets inside the 5-yard line. And after that punt, had an amazing celebration. So I got to ask you, Gianna, Jordan Stout's celebration was what?
Well deserved. You know, he was reveling in the moment and in the locker room too. He had so many media scrums. He was smiling, and all his teammates were just so happy. He said that he lost control of his body in that moment, and so he was like, I want to forget that. But I thought it was amazing, and he definitely earned the right to celebrate almost any way he wanted after that punt.
Yeah, Tim, it was incredible. It was like gladiators, like the Are You Not Entertained? I've never seen a punter. I mean, the camera's on him, and he just immediately just took it all in. And I mean, what a great moment.
No, I was going to go well-deserved as well, but I guess I'll go on brand, because it's not like you're a punter, you're a kicker, you aren't going to do this extravagant dance, even though Justin Tucker would from time to time. But yeah, the easy Are You Not Entertained? And look, he is having a fantastic year at the right time in a contract year, because his first 3 years of his career, it was very uneven, where I'm with you. This guy's an all-pro punter this year. He's leading the league in net yards per punt.
Yeah, I'm going to say amazing, just because I love not only the celebration, but also the whole stadium. Just everyone reacting and just showing him love. We don't give enough love to our specialists. So for Jordan Stout to get that love was obviously just incredible. All right, next one. It is blank. Lamar Jackson is considering taking Wednesdays off. Tim.
I guess I'll go necessary. It's not ideal. Wednesday's the most important practice of the week for NFL teams in terms of install, but this is a situation where if you're the Ravens, you kind of have to massage this injury as much as you can and try to get Lamar Jackson as close to 100% as you possibly can as the season progresses. But right now, especially this time where it's short week, Thursday night football, you just have to do whatever you can to get him as right as possible for Sunday, in this case, Thursday.
I'm going to go all the way the other way, Tim. I'm going to say insane. Insane. I mean, I tweeted it out yesterday at halftime that the idea of taking Wednesdays off should just be off the table for any Ravens player. I mean, we're talking about execution being the issue. That's what everyone in the locker room is saying. Well, you can't work on execution if you're not working. So, you know, these practices at this point in the season, they're not tough. You're not getting beat up. Lamar Jackson's not getting touched. But the timing of certain throws, the touch that needed to be on certain throws, he missed DeAndre Hopkins on what would have been an amazing catch for his 1,000th catch of his career. Would have been a touchdown to seal the game, but missed him. Missed Mark Andrews early on in the game as well. It's just hard not to believe that not practicing and not working on the rhythm with those guys didn't play a factor in that. So it's insane for me. Gianna, what do you say? Is Gianna frozen again? Gianna's frozen again. Okay, we'll get her thoughts in a little bit. But Tim, let's move on to our third one, because we got a big matchup on Thursday Night Football. Joe Burrow coming to town, making his return against the Ravens. So Burrow potentially making his return against the Ravens would be what?
I think this is crazy. That's where I'm breaking it out, because if I'm looking at this from a Bengals perspective, they have less than a 10% chance to make the playoffs. I think I saw New York Times had them at 3%. They'd have to run the table just to get to 9 wins to have an opportunity, and you'd have to have so much break right if you're Cincinnati, where you have to think long term. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow has been very injury prone throughout his career. The last thing Cincinnati could afford is for him to suffer a serious injury down the stretch, and they have so many needs heading into the offseason. I think a top 10 pick would do them wonders.
Yeah, well, the IT department's been hard at work behind the scenes for us here. We got Gianna back. So, Gianna, the question is, Joe Burrow making his return against the Ravens would be what?
Terrifying. I mean, I know he's been out, so maybe he won't be full form, but these games with Joe Burrow in there tend to be shootouts. And I don't think this Ravens team is meant for a shootout, kind of like you were talking about with the last one. Lamar Jackson not being there has been detrimental to the team. He is wide receiver one. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow is trying to come back, and he's been practicing with them. He has revenge on the mind. And so I just don't think both either the defense or the offense could keep up with a shootout if that's what Thursday turns into.
I'm going to finish it off and just say expected. I mean, it's not a surprise to me. Not a surprise to, I don't think, any Ravens player. As soon as Burrow stepped back on the practice field, you just knew that he was going to come back for this game. As much as he complained about Thursday night primetime games in Baltimore in the offseason, this is a game that he's going to get up for. This is a game the Bengals are going to get up for. They're going to be not at full strength because T. Higgins has already been ruled out and Trey Hendrickson as well. But this is a team that this Bengals team is going to be ready for, and it's going to be one heck of a matchup on Thanksgiving night, guys.
Oh, without question. Yeah. They're playing for their season. Like I said, they have to run the table to have a chance at 9-8 to make the playoffs. So make no mistake about it. They are playing for their season Thursday night in Baltimore.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to check in with what happened around the league yesterday. Our league checkup is coming up when Purple Connection continues.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. The League Checkup, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
And welcome back to Purple Connection. It's time for our league checkup, guys. And we've got to start with some news that came down actually today. Former Ravens kicker Justin Tucker reportedly had a workout with the Saints. So that obviously is some big news. Tucker eligible to return after being suspended for the first 11 weeks of the season. Aaron Rodgers inactive yesterday, and the Bears beat the Steelers 31-28. How about this? A great game in Arrowhead. The Chiefs come from behind to beat the Colts in overtime. Sorry to our producer Ashley and her father, who I know is watching right now. And then the Rams blow out the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. So a lot happening today and yesterday around the league. Tim, what stood out to you?
Well, I think before we get to the game action from yesterday, I do find it, quite frankly, shocking that the Saints tried out Justin Tucker. Now, I thought that there would be a chance that maybe he would catch on somewhere, but you assumed it would be for a playoff contender. I don't think it makes any sense at all for the Saints to pick up Justin Tucker, a guy that was among one of the worst kickers in all of football, and that's even with all the off-the-field issues. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, Gianna, I believe I'm kind of in line with Tim on this. I think that in my head, somebody was going to give Tucker a shot when he was eligible to return. I also believe that it would be a team that was a contender, and just struggling in the kicking department like a lot of teams are. So this was a little bit surprising that it was the Saints and not potentially some of the other teams like that have been thrown around, like maybe the Packers or the Bills or, teams that really are struggling in that department that have a shot at winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints definitely were struggling. Their kickers missed 8 field goals, which is the lowest field goal percentage out of any kickers with 20 field goal attempts this season. But you're right, like that's a lot to risk your reputation for if you're not even making a run for it. And to look at what they were saying about, trying him out is they said, obviously there's been some stuff that's been unfortunate, which is really, having been pretty involved in the investigation, kind of very lighthearted way of talking about women whose lives were very negatively impacted by his actions. So I didn't doubt either that he was going to come back. That tends to be how the league works. Deshaun Watson came back as well. But, I mean, I guess Deshaun Watson went to a team that's also struggling. So I guess there's a pattern there. Maybe the other ones, because they were doing well, didn't need to bring that in. After all, he was coming off of a career worst year. So yet to see if he'll actually make the team.
So this is the first team to give Tucker a workout, and I'm assuming it will not be the last. But as we look back at yesterday, the thing that stood out to me that was the most shocking is Aaron Rodgers being inactive. For whatever reason, I don't know why that stood out and was shocking to me. I think maybe it's because he went through practice, and it seemed like the Steelers, they're positioned to first place. Everything's ahead of them. It seemed like they were trying to find a way to make that work, but then ultimately just decided that it wasn't worth the risk. So now the question is just how long is he going to be out? Because, I mean, that's a small break in his non-throwing hand or wrist area. That's a little bit of a concern if you're a Pittsburgh fan.
Oh, it's a serious concern, but I'm sure Aaron Rodgers behind the scenes was really pushing to play in that football game because everybody remembers that clip from a few years ago, I own you, after scoring that rushing touchdown, talking trash to the Bears fans in Chicago. But the Steelers, it's been more of the same for them. Their defense has really, really struggled, and that was the 5th time they've given up over 30 points this year. Their offense struggles to score unless their defense gets some turnovers, and their defense scored a touchdown yesterday. So Steelers in a bit of a free fall, having lost 4 of 6.
Yeah, and it definitely is interesting, too, because the other thing that stood out to me about that, Mason Rudolph has just been the backup in Pittsburgh for forever, it seems like. I mean, that also, for whatever reason, that stood out to me. With all the quarterback changes that have happened, Mason Rudolph has stayed steady there. But then Gianna, too, last night finishes off the Rams. They look like the best team in football right now, head and shoulders above everyone else. This is a Bucs team. I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was up here talking about Baker Mayfield looking like the MVP. I think he even throw for 50 yards yesterday. I mean, just the Rams look like they're for real.
You know what's getting me about that is that the Rams are on a win streak and so are the Ravens, but no one's saying the Ravens look like Super Bowl favorites the way the Rams are, because the Ravens have just had such like hard-fought wins. Like no win has come easily, and the Rams outside ever since well, obviously they made the Ravens look so bad, but they were just being so efficient against teams, kind of like that Sean McVay offense that everyone knows and loves. So, yeah. Definitely just funny to see the very different conversations around the Rams and the Ravens right now.
To be fair, I think that Rams game would have looked a lot different with 4 quarters of Tyler Huntley. Just a thought right there. Don't want to play the what-if game, but just a thought there. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial intermission. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up and get some game day advice for Thursday. You're watching Purple Connection.
A Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. And now, game day advice, brought to you by Rice Law. For the best advice, call Rice.
All right, let's get to our game day advice. The Ravens have a quick turnaround. Thursday night football hosting the Bengals. And this is pretty simple, guys. Barry Burrow. Everyone remembers last season, that Thursday night matchup here, Joe Burrow. I mean, he just went crazy. He went crazy, against the Ravens all of last year. I mean, look at the numbers. 820 yards, 9 touchdowns in 2 games. And in his career, has almost 2,700 yards and 21 touchdowns in just 9 games. But the big stat, he's just 3-6 against the Ravens in the regular season. So even though he's putting up those gaudy numbers, Ravens, more times than not, find a way to win. This game is going to be pretty interesting, though. All right, now let's get to our question of the week as we get ready for this prime time matchup. What is your favorite prime time memory at the bank? Tim, I'll start with you. You have a favorite memory?
Yeah, there were a couple that came to mind in the Lamar Jackson era. There was one in 2019 during his first MVP season when I think the Patriots were 8-0 and they came to M&T on a Sunday night and the Ravens just killed them that game. And also that crazy Chiefs game from a few years back. I think it was 2021 where Owe forced the fumble, and it was a crazy comeback there. Those two immediately stuck out.
I was there with my brother. That was a special game. All right, Gianna, what's your favorite primetime memory?
I haven't been to that many at the bank, but I think maybe that Bills game where they just absolutely destroyed them, which is kind of sad to think about because then they lost to them on the road to end their season after that and then to start their season.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with a couple of years ago. I'm trying to remember. Was it 2 years ago? I think it was a Thursday night game, Bengals game. I was with my dad. That's what made it special for me. He got down on the field, too, to watch the game. But then Burrow gets hurt, and Jake Browning stepped in. So that was that game. It was a big win for the Ravens, but cool to spend time with Dad always. All right, that's going to do it for this week's Purple Connection. For Tim Barbalas and Gianna Hahn, I'm Alex Glaze. We do this show every Monday during the season. Thank you for watching. Ravens are rolling. See what they can do on Thanksgiving night. Have a good night.